It's another massive box of swords. Let's unbox it. Hi folks, Matt Easton here of Schola Gladiatoria and Easton Antique Arms, and I've got a big box of swords here. Now I'm going to straight away, and I have a guest.
Hi.
This is Lucy Easton, also of Lucy Cake Crochet channel, link below. But we are here with another box of swords, and I'm going to give you some clues. So first up, there are 7 items in here. They are all swords. There's no kukris. Lucy's gone. She's out of here. So I'm going to try and cut as much of the fluff out as possible, and we're going to get to unboxing these quickly, but we're going to do it in a alluring and seductive way such that you get the chance to guess what some of these swords might be as we're unwrapping them. So let's get unwrapping. I can't fully remember. I know that there's 7 in here, and we've got a Lansky knife today. There we go, non-locking, with a sort of nice little sort of hook-like blade, different to before. Which previously we were using an Opinel, which I incorrectly called a Laguiole.
You did that, made people really sad.
They're all French. I don't mean all the people are French. I mean they're both French knives, but very different. I do have a Laguiole, and of course I have the Opinel because you saw that. My work knife, and I do use a knife a lot in my day-to-day work, is the Opinel. And I like Opinels because they are simple, utilitarian, easy to fix if anything goes wrong, but nothing ever goes wrong with them. And they're good to sharpen. They're nice carbon steel.
This is well wrapped.
It's really well wrapped. So I can't remember which company.
When do I get to guess, or are you just opening it?
Well, it's just a big. Hold on. Right. Okay. So have a squeeze of that.
A careful squeeze.
What can you tell me so far?
It's a sword.
It's a sword.
It appears to have a barred hilt.
Oh, okay.
Maybe there's a bit of movement in there. Oh, it's probably just in a scabbard. Okay, I'm guessing it's in a scabbard.
I don't know what this is. Right. Okay. Let's unwrap it a bit more.
Okay.
Let's see if viewers know as it comes out. This is much sharper.
I don't know actually at this point remotely. It's a sword. It's not a tulwar.
Oh, they put a lot of tape around this thing. Right. Okay. Let's reveal.
Can I?
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh. Well, you're just putting it all out there.
Yeah, you go for it. So these are all stock, incidentally, unless it's something that Lucy wants for her collection. But these are all stock items for Easton Antique Arms.
It's got a sword knot.
Ah, ooh. Ah, right.
This is...
Yes. So I know what this is, but can Lucy tell us what this is? So...
I mean, I know what it looks like. You've had several of them come through.
So do you know what pattern this is? Do you know what nationality this is?
British.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Lucy is 100% correct. It is British. It's a British military sword, which obviously get featured quite a lot on this
cavalry?
channel. Think again.
Heavy cavalry.
Think again. There we go.
So my guess would have been cavalry, but clearly I'm wrong.
I'm not going to completely unwrap the scabbard because it's wrapped quite well. But do you know what model this is? If you know, get posting down below.
I actually don't remember the name. So
what does it have on the front of the hilt there?
VR.
Yes, VR. So VR, it's focusing on Lucy's face. And so there we go. VR stands for Victoria Regina. So Queen Victoria. So it's Victorian, and this is the 1895 pattern infantry officer's sword.
I didn't know that. I know what it looks like. You've had quite a few of them, but anything with numbers doesn't stay in my head very well.
So in 1895, there was a radical change in design. In fact, there's an article on the Easton Antique Arms website.
Radical? Nice.
There's a couple of articles relating to this actually on the Easton Antique Arms website, which is linked below, about the development of swords in the 1890s specifically. And they switched from a brass guard to a steel guard, which is a big improvement for hand protection. This is the 1895. But then very quickly, by 1897, they wanted to modify it slightly. So a new guard came out, and that's the current regulation still to this day, the 1897 patent. So this model was only produced for 2 years, in 1895 and 1896. So we can say that this dates to 95 or 96. And it's made by Mole of Birmingham for anyone who's interested. And that will be going on the website in due course. But yeah, it's a nice one. It's got no initials or names on it, but it's made by Mole, who were a good maker, good quality, pretty much as good as Wilkinson. So,
next sword.
Any questions? Yes, let's move on to the next sword. Right.
I've already forgotten that number. 1895.
95, yes, good. Oh! So what's immediately noticeable about this?
It's light and short.
Light and short.
Is it
good.
a police sword?
I don't think so.
They are light and short though.
Yes, they are. So for anyone who
Open it a little bit.
For anyone who doesn't know, so Lucy asked if it was a police sword, which is something we encounter not infrequently because police swords are actually quite common. That unfortunately doesn't mean they're cheap, they're actually still fairly valuable, but in the old days, police in most countries, Britain included, used to carry swords. And not just the police, also railway guards, prison guards, dockyard guards, customs officials, they all carried swords, which you might think is odd in the age of guns, but bear in mind that these were law enforcement people, so they didn't necessarily want to go around shooting people, contrary to popular belief. However, they did require some armament because a lot of people might try and stab them. So if you were a customs official searching people's barges on the Thames to check that they weren't smuggling, they might try and shank you with a pocket knife. So having a sword was quite a good idea. Right, there we go.
So it's got a cross hilt rather than a basket.
I think I know what this is. Well, I think I can remember. I will know when I see it.
But the blade is straight.
Ah, so police swords are normally slightly curved.
So it feels like it's a straight blade, so it's not a police sword.
Shall we reveal it slightly more to the camera? Oh, right, okay. Some clues here. So, can you tell? I'm just going to give you a sneaky little, just going to show a little clue to see if you can guess from that. Look at that. Can you guess from that what this is? So keep unwrapping, Lucy. Lucy's really confused by this one, I think.
100% I do not know what that is.
Right, okay, well that's fair enough. You perhaps just don't know about these. So,
it's got like a knife grip, like a stiletto handle.
Right, so some of you out there will think you know what this is, and you'll be wrong. I'd be really curious.
Right.
So get posting down below, do you know what this is? So I imagine right now there's a lot of French people posting I can't say the French, I think it's chou, or there might be British people posting cabbage chopper. And I have done videos about these before. So there's a French type of sword called a cabbage chopper, which has a gladius style hilt like this. It's not actually like a gladius, but it's what the people in the 19th century thought was a gladius hilt. And originally they came into service in France under Napoleon, and they were used as artillery sidearms. So they're essentially short, double-edged, a bit like a gladius. But
you're saying that's not what this is.
But that's not what this is.
So what is it?
So this is not a cabbage chopper, cabbage cutter. Okay, so I'm going to reveal a little bit more about it as it comes out here. Okay, so the eagle-eyed amongst you might notice this is not a cabbage chopper blade.
Is it a hunting sword?
Oh, it's a very interesting. That's actually.
Is it a good try?
That's a good. It's not correct, but it's a good guess. So, what can you tell me about this blade?
Well, it's single-edged.
Boom. Okay, so it's single-edged.
Yeah.
That's what makes this unusual. Okay.
It's like a big knife.
So this is, yes, it's like a big hunting knife, in fact, yeah. So this is single-edged, it's like a back sword. So it has a spine along the back here, then it has a single bevel down to the edge, and it has one cutting edge and a spear
What is
tip.
it?
So it is like a cabbage chopper, like a French cabbage cutter, but with a single edge blade instead of a double edge blade. And it's actually longer than a French cabbage chopper usually is. Some of them are a bit longer. Okay, but there is a clue. Now, Lucy, can you tell me what you see down at the base of that blade?
A crown.
Right, okay. And now I'm going to show you guys this, hopefully, as well. Just down at the base of there, you can see, hopefully, a crown mark with the number 16 underneath it. Now that particular crown mark is from Britain. Okay, so that is the inspection mark from the armoury that it was made in, but it's British. So what is this?
I don't know.
Do you know? Right, so it is a very particular type of sword that's actually not very common at all. It is a land transport corps sword.
Okay, there was literally no way I was going to know that.
No, but
did you know that?
Did you know? Did any of you out there know that? So this is based on or inspired by the French cabbage chopper, but it was specifically adopted for the British Land Transport Corps. They were active in the Crimean War, for example. So in the Crimean War, they carried these, and they were used for the same reasons as the French cabbage chopper. They were used for clearing paths and sort of, you know, basically as a tool. But it could be used as a weapon as well. Anyway, an interesting, that's rather nice actually.
There's something on your face.
An interesting and rather, it's probably bits of, bubble, I've got bubble wrap stuck to me.
It's a good look. This is surprisingly heavy.
Well, it's for chopping wood. It
feels very much like it's for chopping.
It's for chopping wood, and funnily enough, one of my viewers sent me an interesting German article translated into English the other day. And it was a debate amongst German military people about, you know, should the infantry still carry swords in addition to their rifles and their bayonets?
Their arm would fall off if they carried this.
Well, one of the arguments for them using these was actually they're really useful tools, and most infantry use their swords for like chopping up
like
wood, clearing emplacements, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, like a machete. So actually, it's a really useful tool, and I think on channels like mine,
I quite like it. It's grown on me in the last 5 minutes.
I like it, but I also like it because this is really quite a rare. This is really quite.
Keep it.
No, I don't know. It's really quite a rare thing. But anyway, maybe we'll look at that in a bit more detail in a future video. On to another sword. Longer, but not as long as a.
What?
These are apparently all quite confusing swords to Lucy. So we've got,
so I was mostly confused because I assumed the hilt was at the other end.
Well, you were at the wrong end, right? That's a very skinny hilt.
I thought it was a katana.
It's a very pointy hilt. Oh, actually.
No, it's in a...
Oh, that's a scabbard. Ah. Well, shall I start opening it there?
That feels more spadroony than...
Spadroon?
I don't think it's light enough to be a spadroon.
Seems
but
a bit short to be a spadroon to me. But,
do you think?
Oh, right. Okay. So there's a little bit of a hilt and a pommel sticking up the end there. Go on, Lucy. Have fun. Do you want me to cut a bit more of the tape?
Oh, is that naval?
You tell me. So while we're doing this, while Lucy's thinking and opening up this sword, are there any particular types of antique weapons that you would like me to try and acquire? Because, you know, not kidding, I bid on a lot of stuff in auction, and, you know, I trade things with other dealers and stuff. There are many things I see around that I just never particularly buy because I don't think that there would be an interest on the channel, or I don't think that necessarily I have the customers for that object. But are there any things that you've never seen me with on the channel or dealing in that you'd like to see on the channel or indeed on the
And
website?
How unbearable is the bubble wrap noise to you, or is it tolerable? Because
I still think we need to open up an ASMR.
It's squeaky.
I still don't know what ASMR stands for.
I think it's those whispery people.
No, I know what it is, but I don't know what it stands for. Actual sounds.
No, like auto-sensory something, maybe.
Right, okay.
Comment below.
Oh. That's not what I thought it was going to be.
I mean, I wasn't a million miles away with Spradruni.
Well, actually, you might be quite close for reasons that will become soon apparent to you.
So this hilt is smaller than I would have expected it to be.
Oh, yes. You're on the right track. So, let me just show that to the camera so they can see what we can see. So, first up, it's a brass hilted. Anyone who looks at my antique website will have seen this sort of thing quite a lot. It is a Victorian 1845 pattern.
Dude!
What? What?
You're meant to give me the opportunity to say what it is.
Trust me, you still got plenty to guess. So it appears to be a British 1845 pattern Victorian infantry officer's sword. Okay, but now unsheath that bad boy. Don't worry about all the wrapping. So there's a lot of wrapping around the scabbard, but just ignore that. Yeah, it's all a bit stuck on there, but
yeah, I would have got the number wrong.
It's a steel scabbard. Oh, good job.
It might be a sword knot in here.
Oh. Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. Oh, it's a frog.
Oh, I love frogs. Not that kind.
So that's what goes on the Sam Brown sword belt. So that must have come with that sword. So
to me, this is smaller than I would expect it to be.
Yes, it is, Lucy. Well done.
It's small and it's
Have a look. Tell me about the maker.
Wilkinson.
Woo! Henry Wilkinson. So, why might it be smaller and lighter and narrower?
For using...
I know that some people out there will know this. So it's a narrower version of the standard version. So it's called picket weight.
Oh, really?
So essentially it's regarded as, there were two weights of sword. In fact, there were more, but there were primarily two weights of sword that an officer could buy. One was the standard like field service weight, and then there was a lighter, a narrower version that's less than an inch wide. So if the base of the blade is 1 inch or 1 1/8, 1 1/4, that's kind of considered campaign, battlefield width. If it's less than an inch wide, it's considered picket weight, sometimes called levee weight. And essentially that means for picket duty, in other words, you're not expecting to see combat, but you're going to go and check all of the pickets and go on, not patrol, but sort of go do your duties in camp essentially. So it's like a walking out sword, like a dress sword. But here's the funny thing. Very often, these weren't numbered by Wilkinson, but this one is. So that's nice because that means with that number, hopefully, I might be able to find out who owned this sword. And it's,
do you think they had that sword and another sword?
Probably, but here's the thing. So a lot of people think that picket weight swords, because they're narrower and lighter and more dainty. Even the grip is more narrow and lighter, a little bit shorter, I would say as well. Yeah, it's little. It probably suits your hand pretty well.
It's actually a little bit short.
A little bit little.
A little bit little. I love the weight of it.
A lot of people think that these are just dress swords, but I have explicit records of people using these in combat. Not always because they are intended to. So sometimes if a person was wearing a picket weight sword and the picket got, you know, the wherever they were got attacked, then they just used the sword in the hand. However, I do know of several examples that I've had of picket weight swords that had been really well sharpened for service. So presumably some people just liked the fact that it was thinner and lighter. And, you know, if you imagine your background, for example, was épée fencing or small sword and foil, then, but by regulation, you had to carry this type of sabre. Well, if you get a straight one that's narrow and light and use it just as a thrusting weapon, this is actually closer to a small sword in use than the standard sabre is.
That's like my kind of zombie apocalypse sword. Because I would be able to carry it around all day too.
So there we go, a Henry Wilkinson picket weight version of the infantry officer's sword. And this one dates to, from the number it dates to about 1890.
So you keep that one too?
No, that will be up on the website in due course. Right, we've only got through 3 swords so far, so let's move on to...
Go.
Ooh, blimey, that's light. Right, have a squeeze of that.
Is it maybe just a scabbard?
It could be. We have had that before, haven't we? Oh,
it is not just a scabbard.
There's a point sticking up
There's
the end.
a nice big point.
Okay.
I'll point that over there for
There's
you.
definitely a blade in there. Shall I cut some of this sticky tape?
Yes.
They have put a lot of sellotape on, or scotch tape, the Americans. Sticky tape on the... That's actually a good point. If you're American and watching this, sticky tape, do you call it scotch tape? I think you do.
Scotch tape.
I don't think they say sellotape in... They use scotch, I think, as...
I thought that was
So
a different
sellotape
kind.
is a brand name, but anyway, it's clear sticky tape. What do you call it in America? Post below.
That's got a very thin... God.
Oh, this is sharp, this knife. This Lanxey, really good. Good for opening boxes. I might put this in the garage, actually, and use this as a work knife. Right, there you go. Over to Lucy now. Yeah,
What?
so, you know, are there certain types of sword you'd like to see me getting more of on the website? You know I like, obviously, British swords, but I also like French swords. French swords never sell as easily as British swords, but they're really nice, really nicely made, very nice designs. I'm a big fan of French swords. Go on, whip it off.
It's straight, but it's got a really...
Oh!
Oh, it's not straight.
So I just overreacted massively there. It's because I'd completely forgotten that I got
But
this.
are you really happy about it?
You won't know what this is, actually, and it'd be interesting to see how many of the viewers know what this is.
Oh, okay. So it's got the lion, so it's naval. Yes? Is that not right?
I'm saying nothing for now.
Okay, so I'm going with... No, I'm sticking with its naval because of the lion. And now I don't know if this is still true, but I'm going with it being German because it's got this big... Am I totally wrong or totally right?
No, you're right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because it's got
on.
the bigger bulge here rather than the smaller one.
Oh my God. She's been listening to me all these years.
Wait a minute. Have you never loved me more?
I am so impressed. You're absolutely correct. That's absolutely amazing.
Booyah!
So this is a World War I era Imperial German. It's actually Prussian, but German's good enough. Yeah, it's an Imperial Prussian. It's not naval.
Okay, so they just have the lion in the same way.
Yeah, so they have the lion pommel. They did have lions on their naval swords as well, just to confuse matters. But this is almost...
But I am right that the lion is for British naval.
Yes, in Britain the lion... Well, no, not always. The 1803 has a lion on the pommel, and that's an infantry. So the Prussian specifically liked to use lions on their stuff, and eagles, of course. But yeah, this is, I believe, an artillery officer's sword, but I need to check because I'm completely honest.
I've never seen one before.
No, because I don't buy a lot of them, but there are actually a fair amount of them. So a lot of these were brought back to Britain and probably America as well, actually, at the end of World War One.
So why? I know I know this because he's told me this before about a different model of sword. But why is it that the German ones have that bigger lump?
So the reason that it's got this P-shaped guard here is based on the British 1796 light cavalry sabre, because the nation of shopkeepers, us British, sold the German nations lots of swords in the Napoleonic Wars for them to fight Napoleon, our joint enemy. We were allies. And they then copied those swords. And when they copied the 1796, they tended to make this bulge a bit bigger on the Blucher. Okay, so on the Blucher sword, it's a bit bigger. But that carried on in later models of sword. It just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Now, funnily enough, there is potentially some practical use for this. And I have seen, if we look at German sabre fencing manuals, for example, Christmann, they have a type of cut which is very extended like this. For those of you who do German longsword, it's a bit like a Scheitelhau. And if you look in Christmann, for example, you can see cuts whereas in British and French sabre, we tend to cut never really beyond a straight line with the forearm. They actually have cuts which go further like this. And they sometimes have a finger loop up here. And arguably, having this bulge down there does potentially enable or make that a
Can I
little
hold
bit
it?
easier. But yeah, I mean, it's super light. It's World War One era.
It's also really quite intricate, actually.
Yeah, it's very well. It's yeah.
very pretty.
So it's an officer's one rather than a sort of private soldiers. And yeah, I need to do a bit of research to know exactly what this is. But it's World War One, and as I say, a lot of these were brought back in 1918 when the war was finished. A lot of them were brought back as war trophies. So a lot of Prussian, particularly, but other German weapons, bayonets, swords, ended up back in Britain as souvenirs, essentially bringbacks by the soldiers. So we've actually got quite a lot of World War One German stuff here. Right, next sword. This is I mean this is a big one, but we've got through 4, so we've
Heavy
only got
cavalry.
3 more. Hold on, let's just undo some of the tape. That was a bowl to go straight for a guess.
It seems really big.
Does it?
Either that or it's one of those cup-hilted things.
It has to be said, so a lot of these things are relative. You know, how big is big? And the last sword is quite a dainty sword. In fact, several of these have been quite dainty swords. Right.
1796. That's a number, right?
That is a number. There we go. Oh, that's dusty, that one. It's going to make me sneeze.
I think this is like that one.
Well, let's see.
Oh, that noise! No, I think you're going to need to use knifey.
Yep. Let's get in there. If I ever have a horrible accident with a knife doing one of these, then do you think I should keep it in the edit or edit it out?
Well, they'll demonetise you, so.
No! I'm sure I'll be demonetised one day anyway for all the weapons content. Right, there we go. So let's show you guys. Can you see enough from there to guess what that is yet? Over to you. Oh, I've really inhaled some dust from the... Okay.
It's a thing that you have several of.
A lot of, yeah.
Yes.
It's quite a common model of sword. And I don't say that in a bad way. They're actually, it's a good and successful model of sword, which was made for a fairly long period of time, and that's why there's quite a lot of them around. So it's a decent sword. So let's pull this off here. Ooh, God, they really went to town with this wrapping, didn't they?
I'm not sure why they need the kind of cellophane-y stuff under bubble wrap, but that was just a choice.
Right, I'm not going to pull that off all of the scab because it's properly stuck on there, but there we go. You'll see a lot of these on my channel and on my website. This is called a 3-bar hilt. Who do you think used one of these?
Soldiers.
Yeah, what type of soldiers?
Infantry. Cavalry.
Cavalry did sometimes use these, but there was another type of, can you guess? There was another type of unit or branch of the service.
What is annoying is that there are a lot of these, and I'm just completely drawing a blank.
Right, I'm going to give you a clue. What's that?
Artillery.
Yay!
I would have guessed wrong. That was not where my brain was going at all.
So I'll show you
It's a
guys what I
cannon.
just showed Lucy. There we go. There is a little cannon, and on the other side we have the wings of the Royal Artillery with lightning bolts, and their motto is Überke, which means everywhere, which means that they could strike anywhere on the battlefield with their artillery shells. And this is by Hobson, and
It's nice. It's got a nice blade on it.
yeah, it's probably an import blade. But Hobson was the retailer. It needs a little bit of a clean up, but it's in quite good condition, isn't
Yeah.
it? Quite a nice blade. Oh, and it's got a load of... Oh, it's got some names on it.
Nice.
Lieutenant
Would you like my young eyes?
Gamil? Oh, Canadian Artillery. Well, there you go. So it's a Canadian sword, which is quite topical because I saw Scal the other day. So our resident sword tube Canadian. So there we go, Canadian artillery. Maybe I should sell this to Scal before he goes back. Right, so Canadian artillery sword. Obviously, Canada is basically British. For anyone who's watching from Canada, just to remind you, you're basically British. But no, at this time,
I'm staying out of this.
Obviously, at this time, Canada was an independent state, but was still part of the British Empire and therefore uses British military patterns. And when it looked like those treacherous Americans were going to invade Canada several times, the British Army built up lots of forces in Canada and Navy as well. So going back to this period just after the US Civil War, there were various points, the Fenian raids and stuff like this, where it looked like elements of the USA might invade Canada. And so the British Empire pulled together, and of course, the USA was terrified of the British Empire and was repulsed and didn't invade in this country. So it's more complicated than that, but anyway. They used British-style swords, and this is Canadian artillery. Right, okay, let's see what else is... Whoa! Whoa! Hold that. First thoughts. First thoughts. No thoughts.
My first thought is that it's shorter than I feel like it should be for what I feel like it is.
What does that mean?
That is the most coherent thought I have had all day.
So are you telling me that it's heavy for its size?
No.
Oh.
I'm saying that...
I think it feels heavy.
I don't think that feels heavy. I think that...
Well, it's because you've been doing weights and I'm just weak.
I think that
I need to lift more.
I think it's short for what the hilt feels like it is.
Should we do a bit of unwrapping?
Yeah, do some unwrapping.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Look at the length. I'll hold up
the hilt feels cuppish again.
So there's a normal infantry officer's sword compared in length. So you can see it's a lot shorter than that. Let's cut some of this tape off. God, this is really sharp, this knife. This is brilliant because it's like a
big fan, aren't you?
I don't think I've used this knife for this purpose before, but it really works well for it. It's almost like it was designed
for bubble wrap.
For tape and bubble wrap, which maybe it was.
Well, you never know.
Oh, yet more. I have got so.
Let me squeeze.
Hold on, I'm just going to cut some of the tape so you can actually. I am rich in bubble wrap now.
To start your own bubble wrap fortress, make a den.
Like a bubble wrap den.
That'll be amazing and slightly dangerous.
Yeah, there we go. Ooh, oh, I know what this is. I've just remembered.
Okay, so
you can have 3 clues if you want them, but you get less points if
I want the points.
Yeah, so each time you use one of your lifelines, you.
But this is the fuck. Sorry, what is this? Demonetized.
I think Lucy wants me to be demonetised. Yeah.
Okay, that might just be cardboard that they put in to protect something. Actually, the strange shape that I'm feeling. Give me clue 1.
Clue 1. It is somewhat related to the previous sword. What could it be?
I'm even more confused than I was before.
Oh.
It's a cannon!
You should have used your phone a friend.
Seriously,
Who would you phone, actually, if this was an actual game show? No. If I was the game master, who else would you call?
Who would I
There's
call
an obvious
for...
person. Look at the stuff here. If it wasn't me, who would you ask?
But the problem is that whoever I say, the other people who think that I should be the one that they can vote, it will hurt their feelings. So I can't answer that question.
So out of our friends, who knows the most about military swords? Who isn't me? Out of our close friends? Out of our, Lucy doesn't want to answer this question.
I really don't want that. There are people, I'm going to phone Gavin because I'm not going to hurt anyone else's feelings.
That's who I was fishing for.
That is who, yes.
Gavin's who you call. Call Gavin.
Yeah, I could also potentially call Thierry, couldn't I?
Of course, if Gavin is watching this and doesn't know what this is, then...
But it's too short.
That's something I've never heard before in my life, thankfully.
No comment.
What?
Okay, so what I thought was cardboard is this
It's a
belt
flap.
attachment. Flap, is that the technical term?
Flap. It's a military flap.
Can I pull it out?
Go on, unsheath it. Oh!
Okay,
it's cute.
firstly, it's adorable.
It's adorable. Squee! Oh my god. One of our kids would definitely want this sword.
Both of our kids would want this sword.
Yeah, but one of them would be a lot safer with it than the other one. The 11-year-old would be a lot safer
We'll give it to her.
than the 4-year-old. The 4-year-olds would go crazy with it.
Okay, so I'm going to, against my better judgment, I'm going to say that this is not cut down. This was always meant to be this length.
This is cute. Look at that. Yeah, so I mean, it's got the matching scabbard, steel scabbard of the same length as the blade. That is what we often call a button, and that goes in, if you could just see it goes in there like that, into a frog, and then your belt goes through there. So it's lovely that it's still got the original Victorian, and it is Victorian, leather belt frog. And if you notice the previous sword, okay, if you look
But
at these two swords together.
I know that you're going to want me to say it's an artillery sword because you said it went with the other one. But why is it so short?
So who carried this sword? Who in the artillery? A common gunner or a decorated etched blade? So that's an officer's sword. So therefore, this probably not an officer's sword.
No, but again, even the swords that weren't officers' swords of the other swords,
so what
they're
is?
not tiny and short.
But they did have some. So garrison artillery were equipped with shorter versions of those swords. So this is probably...
So that's for the people who shot the guns?
Yes, exactly, the gunners. So your common gunners carried short swords sometimes. Now most gunners actually didn't, okay, by this period. But some, and this is a topic which needs to be researched better, but some of them, for example, Royal Navy garrison artillery, seem to have had short swords. And I think that was partially because they expected enemy to attack gun emplacements, and so they wanted to be heavily armed to repel boarders, essentially, repel attackers trying to take gun emplacements.
It's nice.
But there is a detail, there is a mystery with this sword, because this blade is actually decorated and etched. Now normally a common soldier's sword that is dished out by the government wouldn't have an etched and decorated blade.
Did people ever etch and decorate their blades after they'd used them because they really loved them?
Sometimes. I don't think that's what's happened here. This has actually got a retailer's name on, which is Millin and Mann of Edinburgh. So this is Scottish. So this was probably for one of the Scottish garrison artillery outfits. Maybe it was artillery volunteers, and sometimes artillery volunteers' weapons were privately purchased by the colonel and provided to his men. So it could be something like that. But, you know, there's some research to be done there, and what a cute little thing. And it's lovely, lovely to have the original scabbard with belt frog and a nicely shiny etched blade.
If you keep one of them, that one.
It's very, very cool. It doesn't really fit in my collection, so it'll probably be on the website. But
well, they could fit in my collection.
I thought your collection was only
mostly
Tolmars and
knives.
kukris. Yeah. Right, final sword.
I saw. Ooh.
And congratulations, if you've stuck with us to this point, post below and say, I made it to the final sword. Because I'd love to know how many of you have actually sat through all 7 swords. I'd love to think that all of you have done, but I understand that these do pan out being rather long videos.
This is really, I'm going to go small sword or spadroon.
Let me just cut some of this tape. So Lucy thinks small sword or spadroon.
It is incredibly light.
Okay, can you tell the viewers any other clues why you think that might be the case?
The hilt feels simple as well.
Okay.
Like a single bar. I thought that was just going to slide neatly up, and then I was just a person. Oh, it's a small sword.
Yay! Careful, because they're sometimes quite fragile hilts.
Maybe you do
swords.
that bit then. But it's a small sword because it has a triangle section. Is that what that's
Triangular,
called?
yeah, hollow ground triangular blade. And how do you feel about small swords?
I quite like them now. I wasn't a big fan, but we've been doing a bit of small
I thought
sword
you'd
at class.
always like them. Oh, that's cute.
Like doing it.
Look at that. It's that look. It's that damned look.
That is really nice.
I've actually got some, if you do look at my website and you're interested in my stock, from a consuming point of view, I do actually have some small swords to go up on there really soon. In fact, they're sitting in my stockpile ready to be photographed. So there's going to be a range of small swords going up really, really soon. Let me just show that to camera.
That is really nice. Show them the hilt as well.
So it has, you'll notice it has a very black looking grip, and that's because it's lost the wire wrap. So it should have had a wire wrap on here originally, and that's gone. But we do still have what are called the Turk's heads at the top and bottom. And a very, very simple hilt, steel. So probably and almost certainly English. This is an English style. The hilt is an English style anyway. But the blades are often imported. Oh wow, this has got...
It's really pretty. It's got writing on the other side as well.
It's got some... I don't think you'll be able to see this on camera, so that's... Yeah, I can't quite read that, but it's got some writing, probably the maker's name on one side.
A picture that looks like an axe.
It actually seems to have something heraldic on it. I see if you'll be able to see this. So just around here is a coronet or crown above a shield, or a heart actually rather, with some kind of emblem in it. So that might relate to a family family motif or something like this. But yeah, yeah, nice small sword, and it seems to have the full. It has the full blade length, hasn't been shortened. It's not particularly long. Feels nice in the hand, and it's all fairly tight, isn't it? There we go. So we finished on a small sword, which is something that we don't feature that much on these unboxing videos. Anyway, which of these things was your favourite thing?
The inexplicably short one.
The little artillery sword.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got to say I liked that more than I expected. I've got to say, for rarity and interest in the fact that I think that probably none of you guessed what it was, actually the Land Transbelt Core. It's quite a humble sword, you know, there's nothing particularly fancy about it. But you just don't see them very often.
It looks like if you asked someone who didn't know about swords to draw a sword, like what they draw.
How rude.
No, it does.
Anyway,
that's a good thing.
Thanks a lot everyone for watching. I hope this has been enjoyable, and yeah, if you want to see more of these, just let us know. I am buying more stock at the moment, so there might be some more ammunition for these sorts of videos. Yeah,
literally.
Keep watching, check out the links below, and I'll hopefully see you back on the channel really soon. Bye bye from me, and bye bye from Lucy. See you folks. Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers folks.